Got the rear axle hanging from the lift up here, and taking it apart because we're gonna paint it. It's not gonna get blasted like the frame and everything did. We're just gonna clean it up and get some paint, just like that rust trap type paint. Rich is helping, and we're making good progress here on getting things done. It was quite a chore getting the drum and wheel hub off of this side here. It definitely had to be heated, but yeah, so that'll get prepped and painted as well, and everything will go back. The brakes look like they're in really good condition. I think they were new at some point before the car was parked, so we'll clean this stuff up too, and it might be a good idea to get some wheel cylinder rebuild kits as well to you know, make sure those are fresh. So yeah, it was quite a chore on the other side, so we're going to film taking this side apart here with the taking that hub off. It just, we tried to pull her, we tried tapping it, we tried hitting in here with the air hammer to get it to come out, and it just didn't want to come out. So we had to heat it here and then tapped with the air hammer a little bit, and it came out. So the nut's off, the washer's off. There's a little rubber seal with a tooth for the keyway to seal it. Hold on. It's just going to take quite a bit more heat. Yeah, these things stick on there pretty good. They got a long taper, and they get stuck. I don't know when these were put on, but it's probably been 18 years or so at a minimum, because I think the brakes were one of the last things they fixed before the car was quit working on. You know, they took it apart, started doing the brakes and other things. Well, I would tend to think it's hot enough now. There it is. All right. Oh yeah. There it is. Yeah, it's still got fresh grease, so I'm thinking they did it, and then that car never got driven. I mean, the brakes, the shoes look nice, everything looks clean and fresh, and so we're going to reuse all that. Just, I think I might take apart the wheel cylinders and put new seals in them. The bearing race has some staining in it. I can't feel anything dragging my thumb over it, but I think I'm going to replace these bearings, and then maybe, I don't know if these were replaced and then just never run. Feels good, but I think what I might do is replace the bearings and then keep these as a backup, you know, as parts to bring along. Just in case we need it. So I pull the axles out, axle shafts, because once you get the backing plates off, all the bolts are out and the axles slide right out. Now I don't know what may or may not have been done to this, but I'm thinking, you know, probably the thing to do is take the third member off and probably just do bearings in the ring and pinion as well. See what everything looks like, make sure it's good, because maybe somebody just when they did the brakes, they did those wheel bearings, or maybe not, but I don't know. We need to open it up and look. So, you know, if I do end up replacing bearings in the third member, then we don't have to clean and paint that part today. We'll just clean up and paint the housing. Wow, this feels really good. So I'm hoping we take it apart and everything looks like brand new, then I'll just leave well enough alone. But it's got like good bearing preload in it. Now I don't know what this thing is here, what kind of apparatus this is, but when we get this apart, we're going to find out. Well, it looks pretty good inside, and so we were looking. I don't know if you can see in there, but there's like a wheel that the only thing I can guess is it's some type of speedometer drive or some type of cable drive, but I don't see where on the outside cable comes out, unless it's just packed with dirt. I don't know what it's for. We'll have to do a little research on that. Gear teeth look good on it. You know, they look pretty good. Don't see any problems. Glad to see there's no rust or anything like that in here. So, you know, I don't know. On one hand, I'm tempted to take it apart and just put fresh bearings in, but it feels nice and smooth, where I kind of want to leave well enough alone. But, you know, we've had things feel nice and smooth also, that you take it apart and you find a pitted bearing, and then you're glad it came apart for inspection. So since we don't know, I think the best thing to do is take it apart and inspect. So, looking at this thing here, you can see where the fluid level was, right there, you know. And so in these little pocket area, it's got a pocket right down in here, and it seems to harbor a lot of sediment, and that's probably a good thing. That the sediment will get trapped there, because it falls out of suspension, and it's less, since rear axles don't have a filter system, it's, I guess, a means of trapping some sediment and not having it in suspension where it's going to go through the gears and the bearings. But we're going to get this thing cleaned out and then work on painting the outside of it. Okay, being it's snowing out, I was thinking, you know, we might just take this out, use a sandblaster the way I did the frame, and then epoxy paint it. But we're going to, we're just going to clean it in here today and then paint it with the rust trap, and that'll be sufficient for the rear. The rust trap's a good durable coating. And you know, it's made to paint over rust, so we're going to clean up what we can clean up, and then the rust trap will stick to you know, just where the rust pits are, and you know, I believe it'll do a good job. But first we're going to clean out the inside here, and you know, I was thinking of doing that after the paint, but might as well clean out the inside now, which we have this, I made this, I roll around oil catch, and I put a pump in there, and if you look in one of my other videos, the Ford 9-inch video, you can see how we use this, and clean out the inside of the tubes with a long wire brush, and you know, so the inside will be clean and ready for the third member to go back on. Okay, so for the Packard people that don't want to watch my Ford video, we have a circulating solvent here, and we got a brush, so we brush out all of this. Wow, that is some stiff stuff that's been in there for quite a long time. But the other thing we do is, so it's coming through here like that down the tube, and there's a lot of debris or a lot of gook in the tube, inside the tube, which is, I mean, that's really heavy. I mean, it's not so bad to have it in there because it does provide some corrosion protection from the inside out, or from the inside. But we're going to try and clean it out. And if the car continues to stay mobile, it's not a problem because oil gets slung around in there. So, so here's how we clean it. So we have this brush here, long brush. See, on the end of this drill. So we get it in here while the solvent is flowing, and we can really clean out the inside of the tube, you know, because sometimes that sediment's in there, and whoops. So sometimes that sediment's in there, and it harbors metallic, and then once you replace bearings and gear set or whatever, and you get new fluid in there, some of that sediment breaks up, and now you have metallic from before. And the guys that take just a rag on a broomstick and shove it through, that doesn't really get it the way this gets it. You know, this breaks it up and flushes it out. There you can see where the vent is over here. Oh yeah, you can see the difference now. I mean, maybe the camera doesn't show it that well, but it was really thick, and now it's clean. Clean in the tubes, and it's going to be clean in the center of the housing as well, so it'll be ready to roll, you know, once we put the gear, the third member back in, and axle shafts, axle seals. So everything's going to be 100% clean. You know, if you don't clean out the tubes when working on the axle, you just, you know, you're compromising longevity of the repair. You know, when you do a rebuild on one of these, it should last, you know, 100,000 miles would be my expectation on it. So to try and ensure that, you need to get it as clean as possible. Yep, so this is clean. Very happy with that. What we're going to do is we're going to cover up this opening, and looks like I got mineral spirits mist on the lens of this, so if it's blurry, that's the reason. But yeah, it's clean inside. We're going to seal it up so we don't get any debris, you know, because we're going to wire brush the outside, but we're going to seal it up and clean the outside of this so we can then paint it. Well, we're getting the bulk of the rust off there, but we're also going to put some sanding scratches in the surface, so where it's smooth, the paint will have something to grab onto. Because wire brush, really a wire brush is, while it takes off stuff on the surface, it's also polishing the metal as that wire drags over it. So a wire brush burnishes the surface. Where it's smoother than what's ideal for paint to stick to. So just gonna do this, and now they don't have to be like all the same direction. I don't think it's gonna be anything you'll see. It does need to have a rough surface for the paint to stick to properly. We'll get as much as we can. It doesn't have to be perfect. We do need to devote time to other things as well. A lot to do on the car. I mean, it's so close, man. I would love to just blast it, sandblast it, and then hit it with epoxy primer. But it's snowing outside, and I don't have a blast cabinet big enough to do this.
Throw it on some horses and drop it here so we can get...
Well, no, I was thinking, you know what, we could put a bolt through here and put the chain on the outside.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna blow this off and then wipe it off with some like Prepsol or something, and then in that time I'm going to determine whether I brush it or spray it. Oh, I guess it's not totally sealed. We got the vent hole there. So I mixed up rust trap, and I reduced it probably about 35%, which is a maximum amount. It says that it could be reduced using a urethane reducer. So I'm gonna going to spray this with that reduced rust trap, and the reason I want it thinner is so any little pores or seams, anything around there, anything where we can get it to seep into the seam further because it's thinner, is what I want. So yeah, I'm gonna start painting that here. The second coat I would do full strength, but the first one I want it to seep in wherever I can get it. Put the brake shoes and stuff back on the backing plate, the one backing plate that I did finish. But what we found is the inside of the wheel cylinder is really ugly. So this might have to postpone that. I mean, we could still put the shoes on here, but and the wheel cylinder can go on later. So there's wheel cylinder rebuild kits available. You just have to know the ID of the wheel cylinder. That one is 1 1/16, and this one here is we don't know yet. We're going to find out. So we're going to take this apart just enough to get the wheel cylinder out, to measure it, and then I can place an order for wheel cylinder rebuild kits. Yeah, so we got pull the wheel cylinder out of the rear backing plate, measured it, and that measures 15/16. So Dorman makes these kits, and so they should be available through like any current auto parts store. Okay, well, I got about 3 coats on this thing, and man, does it look shiny. There's some areas that the paint just kind of drifts away from a little bit. I'm kind of thinking at this point I ought to leave them alone. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's under the car, it's not like it's gonna get buffed and people are gonna see it unless they look underneath and they see nice shiny black components here. So yeah, that's good. I'm gonna leave it alone and I'm gonna call that done. So we made some pretty good progress this weekend. I got the U-bolts painted here. Let's see, 1 front drum, 1 rear drum, 1 more rear drum, and I'm just about to start on the leaf springs. I decided while everything else I epoxy prime, the leaf springs, without taking them apart, it's not really a complete job, but I think I'm just going to leave them together. And I'm going to spray them using the Nason Chassis Black. I started on this one and I said, well, it's been a while since I had the camera going. Let me grab the camera and just talk a little bit here. But yeah, we'll see how the how the chassis black holds up by itself on these springs. It's probably going to be sufficient. You know, it's not like manufacturers primed every chassis component. They just usually sprayed one coat of black paint on it, and that was it. Let's see what else. Got a few other pieces here. Leaf spring shackles and the plates that go under the leaf springs with the for the tube shocks to connect to on the bottom. The track bar, I guess this is, and then the coil springs for the tube shocks, which, you know, it seems like we can't get the coil over type tube shocks anymore. That was something through Cantor, and when I talked to them, they no longer had it available. We'll see what happens. Maybe I can do something with tube shocks on new tube shocks about retrofitting those coil springs onto. And here's the rear. I put the paint on a little bit heavy last night, and it's got a couple runs, but you know, that's fine. I don't really care. It's fine. It's underneath the car. It's shiny, but that's not going to last long. But it is protected. It's got, you know, good coverage. This is a rust trap made by Sem, and it works pretty good. It's a paint over rust type of paint, and I like that one. It works pretty well. So that's it for the moment. And oh, you know what? One other thing we did do is started putting together. Oh, if I could get over there. Oh, I've got to crawl around under here. But we started putting together the front suspension. Got this in place, and man, it seems like it's gonna be a chore to get this spring up in here without making a mess of things. But we got the spindle and stuff in place, new bushings put in, and when it comes to doing the other side, you know, I'll film that and you know, so we have a idea what it takes on putting some of those bushings in. And I gotta say, we put the wrong bushings in at first, and they were a little too thick, and it took a lot of force to get them in. It didn't look right, and then I came to the realization I put the wrong ones in, so I had to take it back apart, put the correct ones in. I got to order a couple more bushings, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, I guess that's about it for now, other than putting some paint on those leaf springs over there.